Catherine is the daughter of King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, also known as the founders of Catholic Spain and the explorers of America. When she was a little girl, she was engaged to the son of King Henry of England for political reasons. She is a historical figure who has managed to attract the attention of many history enthusiasts with his interesting life story. Her divorce with King Henry VIII of England gave birth to the Anglican Church. Let's take a closer look at Catherine's life. Catherine of Aragon was born on December 16, 1485, in the Archbishop's Palace in Spain. She was the youngest daughter of the Spanish monarchs. She is described as short, red-haired, blue-eyed, and round-faced. In 1492, the last castle in Muslim Spain surrendered to Isabella of Castile, the mother of Catherine of Granada, which still amazes the visitors with all its splendor and beauty. On January 2, 1492, Christian forces entered Granada. Thus, the city of Granada, which had the feature of remaining under Islamic rule for the longest time since the conquest of Andalusia, was also lost and the Islamic domination in Spain came to an end. After the fall of Granada, Catherine spent her childhood in Santa Fe where her family had taken over. She studied Latin, French and philosophy from the first years of her life. She started to closely monitor state affairs from an early age. Catherine's childhood was filled with wars and celebrations as her parents tried to expand their dominance. The Spanish Treaty of Medina del Campo included a promise to give a bride to Henry VII's son, the future Prince Arthur of England. This bride was to be Catherine, but Catherine was just a 3-year-old baby when this treaty was made. Catherine was just a toddler when she became engaged to Arthur, Prince of Wales and heir to the British throne. Arthur was the son of King Henry VII and the older brother of King Henry VIII. However, Arthur was the first heir to the British throne. Her fate as the future Queen of England was sealed. From childhood, Catherine was prepared to become the future Queen of England. Princess Catherine leaves her life in Spain behind to meet her fiancé, the future King of England, Arthur. And the princess marries England's heir apparent, Arthur, Prince of Wales, in 1501 to strengthen the ties between Spain and England. She was only 15 years old when she got married. After the wedding, Catherine gets closer to Arthur and adjusts to life at the Tudor court. But in her new home, an unexpected situation arises. Her husband suddenly falls ill. The princess was 16 years old when Arthur died for an unknown reason. Their marriage lasted only 140 celebrities, but she did not return to Spain. Continuing the Tudor dynasty, VIII. It was up to Henry. Spain and England wanted the friendly relations of the two countries to continue. Therefore, the royal family did not need to look far for the bride-to-be. Catherine, arguing that their marriage with Arthur was not completed, waited for an offer to be engaged to Arthur's brother, Henry VIII. 2 years after Arthur's death, Catherine's mother, Queen Isabella I, dies, and Catherine is officially in the middle. She lived in England for 7 years away from the palace, suffering from poverty. But there's one hope Catherine clings to: Arthur's brother Henry Tudor VIII. The princess lived in misery for 7 years in a corner of the palace or an unmet mansion. Some historians believe that Arthur and 8th Henry's father, 7th Henry, also fell in love with her, preferred his younger son over himself, and left him in misery for 7 years on the grounds that he was playing games with himself. Catherine, the young princess who lost her husband and then her mother, was left in the middle of a country she was not accustomed to, and experienced economic difficulties at the same time. Grows and matures through this pain. The princess finally gets what she wants. In 1509, King Henry VII dies. Some historians 7. He claims that Henry, on his deathbed, told his younger son Henry to marry Catherine as his last wish. Henry was already in love with this woman who was 6 years older than her. On top of all this, Catherine of Aragon and Henry soon combined their lives. King was 18 and Catherine was 24 when they got married. His coronation is cited by historians as proof that Henry was in love with Catherine. Normally, a queen consort was crowned only after giving birth to an heir, as with the king's own mother. Instead, Henry broke this tradition, and Catherine was crowned with her husband in solemn celebration. Catherine was welcomed by her English subjects as their queen. Catherine of Aragon is now the Queen of England. It was up to him to train this mischievous and spoiled king. Her husband cheated on her many times, but that was considered normal for a king in those years. While Henry was at war, he named Catherine the Queen's deputy to the kingdom. Given that the Queen's childhood was spent in war, she was well equipped to serve as a surrogate. Although many children were born in their marriage that lasted for 24 years, only one of them reached childhood. The others died before she turned 1 year old. Their only surviving child was Mary Tudor, who would later become Queen of England. However, Catherine never had any more children after Mary. Henry thought that God was punishing him for marrying his brother's widow. Over the years, VIII, Henry's main concern was not having a son. Although Henry had a son out of wedlock, the boy died of an illness he contracted. With no living sons and Catherine's aging, she sought a new one who could bear legitimate sons. As the king began to question his marriage, he fell in love with the young, beautiful and intelligent Anne Boleyn. After seeing Anne, Henry couldn't think of anything else but her. However, before the marriage of the two, there was Catherine and the papal institution. The Pope did not allow King Henry to divorce. Since he could not divorce, he could not marry Anne. Romantic King Henry founded the Church of Anglicanism so he could marry the woman he loved. With the rejection of the papal authority, no one could interfere in the love affairs of the king anymore. When Henry and Anne married in 1533, the Archbishop of Canterbury, Thomas Cranmer, declared the king's previous marriage null and void. By doing this, he also declared his daughter Mary, who was from Catherine, illegitimate. But before he died, he declared her heir again, so that their daughter Mary would become Queen of England. She died a few years after breaking up with Henry. Catherine of Aragon was the warrior daughter of an ambitious warrior mother and was actually more noble than the king. She died at Kimbolton Castle, near Huntington, in 1536. Catherine was buried in Peterborough Cathedral under the emblems of Wales and Spain, not England. Despite all she has suffered, the last sentence of the letter she wrote to her husband Henri on her deathbed is the epitome of true love. So she says, "Lastly, I mockest this vogue, that mine eyes desire thou above all things."